Detroit was once the pinnacle of industry, manufacturing, and maybe even the embodiment of the American dream. In this video, I'm going to show you how Detroit went from one of the wealthiest cities in America to a place with a reputation for danger after dark. By the end, you'll understand how it all happened and what makes Detroit's story so unique. First, we'll look at the boom, then the bust, and finally, where the city stands today. Part 1. The Rise. To understand how Detroit became the center of the car universe, you have to look at its location. Detroit was right next to the raw materials and production centers needed for car manufacturing. This made it the perfect place for the automobile industry to explode. At one point, there were about 125 car companies here, including big names like General Motors, Ford, and what's now Stellantis, formerly Chrysler. This was the era where Detroit truly built the world. According to Britannica, Detroit became the automobile capital of the world in the early 1900s. That's a huge jump from being a fur trading post, but it also set the stage for a big problem. What happens if you put all your eggs in one basket? The most notable man of the century. You can't talk about Detroit without mentioning Henry Ford. He was a business legend. His assembly line changed the world, and his $5 a day wage gave workers hope that hard work could pay off. But again, everything depended on one industry and in some ways one man. That's risky. Part 2. The beginning of the end. Almost everyone who has studied Detroit's decline points to one pivotal moment. A police raid on an unlicensed after-hours bar. This event sparked outrage and led to the infamous Detroit riots, a moment that changed the city forever, which began on July 23, 1967, lasted 5 days, and left 43 dead and 1,200 injured, and caused astronomical property damage to what was once America's manufacturing hub. People began leaving the city in droves, questions about political stability increased, and Detroit was no longer a place people wanted to live, especially after years of white flight. Eventually, the city elected prominent politicians, starting with Coleman Young, who tried to rebuild the riverfront and revitalize the Renaissance Center. But the damage from the auto industry's decline was too great for him to fix. After Young came Dennis Archer. He also tried to make Detroit more appealing, but he couldn't turn things around either. But things took an even darker turn. When Detroit elected Kwame Kilpatrick, he ended up being convicted on multiple charges and was sentenced to 28 years in prison, marking one of the city's lowest points. Part 3. The current state. As of a 2025 report, Detroit was the 4th most dangerous large city in America. In another report, it was named the neediest city in the country. That's a long way from its glory days. But today, Detroit is fighting back. From new bridges to a revitalized riverfront, the city's story is far from over. Detroit remains a symbol of resilience.